Thank you for joining us. Our special show today is about the Jewish National Fund and its vision for the future of Israel and the Jewish people. Since the year 1901, the JNF has planted more than 250 million trees, more than 250 reservoirs and dams, and has developed over 250,000 acres of land in Israel. The JNF has created more than 2,000 parks and over 1,000 communities, including the city of Tel Aviv, which is my favorite. To tell us more, we have Bruce Gould, the President-Elect, and Russell Robinson, the CEO of the JNF, following these messages.
Human age reversal. We may be there already. Human studies are now ready to begin to confirm meaningful reversal of pathological aging processes. These clinical trials aim to alter older humans so that they function as much younger individuals. Even modest success will result in a paradigm shift that will impart enormous societal benefits, such as sparing Medicare from insolvency. Life extension is not standing idle while 5,000 Americans die each day from age-related illnesses. Joining us are physician scientists who want to hurry up these technologies to keep people from aging to death. While life extension is pushing these projects forward, we need financial help to ensure these studies are carried through to fruition.
Find magic again. Sprout by HP. With Intel RealSense technology inside, now you can bend the rules of creativity outside.
With us now is Russell Robinson, President and CEO of Jewish National Fund. A pleasure to have you back on the show.
Thank you very much for having me as well. It's really a pleasure being here.
Such a lovely event we're having here today, and I'd like to ask you for your impressions with regard to the event so far.
So we have at this annual conference, it's a great way of sort of recharging that battery every year, and this year to have one of the largest gatherings that we have had. We've heard Ambassador Ron Dermer, we heard Minister Yoav Gallant, we heard Ronald Lauder, our chairman of the board. We had Peter Yarrow, who dedicated a special song that he sang to us and to the state of Israel. And there was a moment there that afterwards, he sang about If I Had a Candle, and that was a song that he sang during the freedom marches for Soviet Jewry. So in the audience was Marina Furman. Marina Furman was a famous refusenik. She has a picture with Peter Yarrow the week after she got out of the Soviet Union, and he was singing that song, and now she has a picture with him later here at this conference. So it shows you the power of the Jewish people. We win.
How interesting that is, and heartwarming, of course. Tell our audience of the significance of the work of JNF at this time in history.
Well, I think that the significance of the Jewish National Fund, this moment, it's when you want to question the connection to Israel, which I don't. I happen to think it's anybody that talks about the American Jewish community and lack of connection to Israel is wrong. The statistics are not there for it. The reality is not there for it. And this is our most powerful moment. If for 69, almost 70 years now, we thought of Israel to become a light unto the nation, if we thought of Israel as more than just the ingathering the exiles, if that was all it was for, then we lost. But we have as one of our partners Nefesh B'Nefesh, and the Jewish National Fund is about that partnership with the people of Israel that we are at today, where North Americans are making Aliyah, 50,000 of them in 15 years. That is the story of Israel today, of the Jewish National Fund. It's a young person making Aliyah. It's bringing people to the Negev and Galilee. It's being part of the new frontier, the 21st century Zionism. It's alive and people are excited about it.
Russell, how important is Zionist education in America today, such as the efforts of the Alexander Muss High School in Israel programs and so forth?
So I think it's extremely important. I think that what we have to constantly do, and we try to do at Jewish National Fund, is that kindergarten through 8th grade, we are involving about 20,000 kids a year. Then in high school, about 4.5 years ago, we acquired the Alexander Muss High School in Israel. What is it? It's a semester abroad experience in Israel. Now, what is the beauty? It's not about day school kids going. These are public school and private school kids, which is 97% of the Jewish community. And we're bringing 1,500 of them to Israel that are having a 16-week, they could go 8 or 16, whatever semester is in their school, to Israel. Now, these kids, we emulate their academics. If they're taking AP Calculus, they'll get it there, and they come back because we're an accredited high school, at or above their academic level in their high school. That's for the parents. Every parent wants their child to get to the Harvards and the Princetons and be the doctors and the lawyers, you know. And by the way, that is the way the Jewish people are. So we're offering an academic experience for their kids that they will get into the best colleges. Our kids get into the Cornells, gets into the colleges of choice because it's almost their freshman year. So even though they're sophomores, juniors, or seniors in high school, they've been away from home. They get to learn. And they return at or above their academic level. But you know what they really get? Is 16 weeks of living, loving, learning Israel. Being part of the beauty of Israel, learning the 4,000 years of Jewish history, but living it, learning it on the land, not in a textbook. So when anybody tells you the story about the future of the Jewish community, I'll debate anybody. The future is better than ever before. We're in the golden moments of Jewish life here. Our connection to Israel has never been better before, and our young people will be a much better generation than even we were.
Experiencing Israel oneself, as many of the individuals whom you bring to Israel will say, is just about the best way for people to further understand and appreciate the realities in a world of such increasing anti-Semitism. So I very much applaud all that you're doing. I would like to ask you, how has the role of JNF changed over the decades, from the days of drip irrigation to the little boxes to where we are today?
So it's funny that you even say drip irrigation, because we were known as the trees. Now, even the trees was something that possessed the land. You know, we were planting trees because we were buying the land during the Ottoman Empire. And if you didn't plant or live on your land, you would lose it. So for us, it was planting of trees was more than just an environmental or an ecological thing. It was the ownership of the land. Then we got into water. And you know, when 20 years ago, and Ronald Lauder said, we have to deal with this water catastrophe in Israel. And everybody said to me and to him, you're going to try to raise money for sewage water? We need a war, or you need poverty, or your kids at risk, or you need disabilities. You know, that's what raises money. You can't raise money sophisticated philanthropy. We did. And we dealt with the catastrophe that faced Israel, and we turned it around to today. We provide 80% of the recycled water in Israel. We added 12% water availability. But that gave us an opportunity to now do the next thing. 60% is the Negev. And since we have started, we've already brought over 150,000 people. When we're going for 500,000, we have the mayor of Beersheba speaking on Sunday. When we started working in Beersheba, it was 193,000 people, losing 3% per year. Today, listen to the mayor, 230,000, the fastest growing city in Israel. That's the Jewish National Fund imprint.
This is absolutely fascinating. And speaking of pioneering, I just met with the founder, I think, of Chalutza.
Well, so Chalutza is one of those communities that is in the Gaza Egyptian corridor, in a piece of land that nothing has ever grown, ever. Yet the people who moved from Gaza relocated there to a land that is dust, dirt, nothing. That land was offered to Arafat as an exchange program, and he used it against Israel and said, this shows you how you could see how the Israelis don't believe in giving us anything. They want to give us a piece of land that nothing has ever grown on. So those people moved there. Today, it's a community of about 7,000. It'll be 30,000 over time. Today, the land that never grew anything, now produces spinach and cauliflower and carrots, peppers, pineapples, exporting out. That's something about us as a people in our partnership with the diaspora. It's about life. Ownership of land. We have a good deed of sale. It was called Jewish National Fund. We could debate it in court. You want to debate it biblically? Let's debate it. But guess what? You can't debate loving the land. And when you love the land and you grow on the land and you live on that land, and that's what you're producing is carrots and pineapple and cauliflower and spinach and not arms and not war and not hate. That's the difference between us and them. And I believe the difference between evil and good, and I believe good wins every time.
How extremely inspiring this is, and again, such a pleasure to have you back on the show.
Thank you very much, and I look forward to the next opportunity.
I'll be right back. With us now is Bruce Gould, President-Elect of the Jewish National Fund. A real pleasure and honor to meet you, sir.
Very nice to meet you, sir.
We are living in interesting times. It's really a nice day here in Hollywood, Florida. And I'd like to ask you, from your perspective, the importance of what JNF is doing at this time in history.
I believe JNF is really being transformative in the formation of the State of Israel, the modern State of Israel. JNF was there at the very beginning. We planted trees right, even before the state was created. And we worked the land. We purchased the land for an eventual state in Israel. When we realized our dream, then we were entrusted with being the caretakers of the land of Israel. And I think there is no organization out there more important right now to the state of Israel and to the survival of the Jewish people.
I would absolutely agree with you on that. And we live in a world that is ever changing, and the stability in the Middle East incredibly seems to change for the worse all the time. What are your thoughts on that?
So Jewish National Fund is a non-political organization. Our only interest is in creating a beautiful, vibrant homeland for the Jewish people, making it a better place. And that's the most important thing. I think that, yes, we live in turbulent times, but we live in turbulent times all over the world. But I can tell you the many times that I've visited Israel, and it's probably about 40 times now, at least, every time I can tell you without a doubt that it is the safest place in the world. I feel safer there walking down the streets of Jerusalem on a Wednesday or Thursday night than I do walking down the streets of New York. It is just that beautiful a place.
These are all such essential topics. I'd like to ask you for your vision for the JNF and its future.
So one of the most important things that I think we're doing right now in Israel is we've created a housing fund. It's a sort of a loan guarantee fund. Unlike here in the United States, when you want to develop new housing sites and new homes and people want to purchase homes, every housing lot needs to be sold and every loan needs to be guaranteed ahead of time before anything can be built. So what happens in Israel, unlike here in the United States, if they sell 10, 20% of a piece of property, they can start building because they've upfronted most of their costs. In Israel, that's not the case. Everything must be sold up front. What happens is you're like on a train going down to the next station, and it's going very slow. And all of a sudden it might speed up a little bit and then it slows down a little bit. People are jumping on, people are jumping off. And that's the problem in Israel because they never get past first base because when they try to develop, let's say just a 400 site new development outside of Beersheba, what happens is they sell about 50, 60 lots and people wait and wait and wait and they never sell those other 350 lots, and so people start getting out and moving somewhere else because they can't wait. And so what JNF has developed is a revolving housing fund, a line of credit, where people can guarantee that all those sites will be sold and that they can guarantee that they can start building so that we can really transform the Negev and the Galilee into a place where people can live and have a beautiful life outside of the center of the country, which is so overdeveloped now, has become so expensive to live that it's cheaper to live in Manhattan than it is to live in Tel Aviv.
Incredible, isn't it?
It is incredible.
Speaking about modern Israel is one thing, but of course the historic sites are absolutely essential as well. Tell us about your work in preserving those.
So most people don't understand that Israel is really composed of ancient Israel, or antiquities, and there are many of those sites throughout Israel, and those are managed by the Israeli Antiquity Authority. But there's a whole other group of sites that are very important to the development of the modern state of Israel. Not necessarily the ancient state of the biblical state of Israel that we know, but the modern state of Israel. And many of those sites are there, but Israel, and because of, you know, where it is, and the money that must be expended on defense and securing the country, a lot of times these sites are not really kept up, and they're not preserved the way they should be preserved. We are working, one of our actions plans is to preserve modern Israeli historical sites, and those are Ammunition Hill, Adlit Detention Camp. There is the Alone Institute, which was a bullet factory, and we're working very hard. One of the ones that I am very proud of, and that I've put a lot of resources in, is Ammunition Hill. Ammunition Hill was the site of the battle of the typifying battle of the battle for the 6-Day War, and for the conquering and reunification and liberation of the city of Jerusalem. If you go there today, it is one of the most unbelievable sites. We've built, JNF single-handedly has built a museum. We've modernized the museum that was there. We built a beautiful commemoration hall, which I had the privilege of giving the lead gift for, which didn't memorialize the people who lost their lives in the Battle of Jerusalem, but commemorated their lives. All 200 that lost their lives in the battle for Jerusalem were commemorated there on the wall and in video archives. And it shows them in their every ordinary day lives, because these people were ordinary people. They weren't soldiers. They didn't fight every day of their lives. They fought for their country when they needed to. So it commemorates them in the beauty of what their lives were. And we went to the families and asked them to find a picture or something that was meaningful to them, that showed those people in their everyday lives and what was meaningful to them. The other thing that is beautiful there is we created a amphitheater, which again I gave the lead gift for, and inside that amphitheater is a wall of honor, and that wall of honor honors any combatant that fought as a Jew in any military capacity anywhere in the world. People can commemorate their names on that wall. And these are the things that we thought really typified preserving these beautiful sites, that if they weren't preserved, they would, you know, eventually just go away.
And remembrance is so extremely important. And of course that brings me to Holocaust remembrance. And as the son of Holocaust survivors myself, German Jews, I feel that we need to learn the lessons of the past. And I'd like to ask you, in your thoughts, why is it essential for neither Jew nor Gentile to be allowed to forget the truths of World War II and the memory of the Holocaust?
Well, it's very interesting, Richard, that you asked me that question, because I'm also very involved in Holocaust education and the Holocaust Center actually in Orlando. And I've been on the board for a very long time. And I think that even though as the ambassador, we had Ambassador Dermer speak today, and he spoke so eloquently and spoke about that people forget very quickly. People forgot about 9/11, people forgot, and they want to go back to their everyday lives. But the Holocaust was such a horrific act that happened in history that we can never forget it. But as time goes on, it's just human nature that people forget. But what we have to do is we have to remember to use the Holocaust as a teaching tool, to relate it to what's going on in today's modern society, anti-Semitism, prejudice, bullying, and take that and use it as a understanding of what was going on in Germany in 1930s, in the 1920s, that caused people to become or to outwardly act on their anti-Semitism. You can't change people's views, you can't change people's bias, you can't change people's beliefs. All you can do is educate them. I think anti-Semitism, I don't think people are born anti-Semites. I think they are taught to be anti-Semites. I think they learn it. They learn it from their parents, they learn it from society. And we need to, it's so important to keep the lessons of the Holocaust and the tragedy of the Holocaust alive and use it as a teaching tool so that it never happens again. In any regard, regardless if it's anti-Semitism, if it's bullying. Bullying is where, in the youngest age, when you become a bully, you're picking on somebody that's lesser than you for whatever reason, and that's the start of anti-Semitism. That's the start of prejudice, and that's why we have to use the Holocaust to teach people that they need to be inclusive instead of exclusive.
So one of the things I'd like you to share with our audience are some of the less known endeavors of the Jewish National Fund.
I'm glad you asked me that, because Israel, like no other country in the world, I think, does a lot of things all over the world. They spread their knowledge and they spread their wealth and their technology, and they don't ask for anything in return. And one of the things that is a fascinating place is in the Arava, there's a school, and what they do is they train young farmers, people in their late teens and their early 20s, how to be farmers, but not from Israel, from countries that Israel doesn't even have diplomatic relations with, from the Far East, Thailand, Myanmar, India, Vietnam. They come to Israel. They have to competitively take an exam and pass and pay their whole own way to come to Israel, and they're trained in the modern techniques of Israeli farming. They live with farmers. The farmers that live in the Arava take them in. They work on the farm, and part of their training is they have to solve a problem for that farmer and make their farming techniques better. And then they take that technology and they take that knowledge and they take it back to their country, and they become successful farmers. But at the same time, they're training good Zionists, because when you go there and you hear these people, they barely speak English, but they speak their native language, but they know how to sing Hatikva, and they know how to tell you how great Israel is. And money can't buy that. These are things that Israel isn't even getting PR or respect in the rest of the world about, but that's what the modern state of Israel is. You know, when you hear that there's a tragedy somewhere around the world, that there's a hurricane or there's a typhoon or whatever, most people don't know that Israel and the Israel First Aid are the ones that show up first.
The word that comes to mind is tikkun olam, fixing the world, and
yes, heal the world.
Creating positive diplomacy through people from all over the world coming and learning from Israel how to improve their farming and so forth and solve problems.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's you know, I was taught. I didn't have to be taught. I just came from a family where I knew that tikkun olam was very important, and I wasn't brought up as an ardent Zionist. I was brought up in a very secular home with parents that we had Shabbos dinner every Friday night, and we went to Sunday school and we went to religious school, and I had a bar mitzvah. But I just knew in my heart, and when I finally was able to visit Israel, and it's very funny, I was supposed to go earlier on in my life, probably about 15 years earlier than I ended up going. With my grandmother got very sick and she ended up passing away, and we were going to go there for Thanksgiving, so we never ended up going. Back in the early 80s, I was about 20 years old at that time, and just wasn't the right time. God said it wasn't the right time, and I waited, and in my mid-30s, when I was about 36, I visited Israel for the first time on a JNF mission, and I knew what my mission in life was after that. And I knew that it was, I wanted to work to make Israel a better place.
In a world that is so increasingly anti-Semitic, the need for people to see the truth is absolutely more important than ever. Before we conclude, sir, share a final message for our audience.
I want you to know that Jewish National Fund my belief, is the best organization to, if you want to give $1 to Israel, if you want to give $1 million to Israel, that money is going to go to Israel to make Israel a better place. JNF is your conduit. We're your voice in Israel. There is no other better organization today that is doing work here in the United States and transforming Israel into a better, more vibrant place for people to live.
Sir, this has been a real privilege, a great pleasure. Thank you so very much.
Thank you. Thank you. I look forward to talking to you more and coming back and updating you on all the things that Jewish National Fund is doing.
Thank you, sir. Absolutely we should, because media, being on TV, is such a powerful means by which to reach out to the audience worldwide.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Human age reversal. We may be there already. Human studies are now ready to begin to confirm meaningful reversal of pathological aging processes. These clinical trials aim to alter older humans so that they function as much younger individuals. Even modest success will result in a paradigm shift that will impart enormous societal benefits, such as sparing Medicare from insolvency. Life extension is not standing idle while 5,000 Americans die each day from age-related illnesses. Joining us are physician scientists who want to hurry up these technologies to keep people from aging to death. While life extension is pushing these projects forward, we need financial help to ensure these studies are carried through to fruition.
A miracle, oh it was beautiful, magical. And then they showed me a world where I could be so dependable, oh intellectual, cynical.
Find magic again. Sprout by HP. With Intel RealSense technology inside, now you can bend the rules of creativity outside.
Carrier asks, what does comfort mean to you? Is it a cool breeze on a scorching day? Or a cozy corner on a cold night? That every room of the house is as inviting as the next. And the air is fresh and clean for everyone. That humidity is where it belongs. At Carrier, comfort means more than just the temperature. And the people who invented modern air conditioning keep inventing new ways to make you comfortable, however you define it.
This brings us to the end of our show for today. I'm Maya Brandt, and thank you for being with us.
The preceding program was sponsored by RCP Productions Incorporated and Friends of the Shalom Show.